big part of my story in the last couple of years is really trying to show up for others. And a big part of why I want to build Soft Bar is something for myself, truthfully. But I've seen how much this could impact someone who doesn't know where to hang out without alcohol, someone who just recently taking a break, someone who's pregnant and wants just a place to chill, or someone who's looking for a business meeting that isn't in a loud, boisterous bar.
Yeah.
So I just really think this is another extension of my way of carrying on this kind of energy of just showing up for people and allowing other people to show up for other people too.
Thank you for tuning in to the Mile 40 podcast. I am Bishoy Tadros, the author of Break Barriers and Audacious, both of which are sold on Amazon. And I invite you to join me as I engage with guests to discuss those bounce back moments that we encounter on our personal journey. Mile 40 is a forum to learn about how athletes, professionals, and leaders of all backgrounds stare down moments in life where the only option is to rise up. The Mile 40 podcast strives to remind listeners that the comeback is always greater than the setback. Welcome back to another episode of the Mile 40 podcast. Thank you all for continuing to tune in. You know it's going to be a good episode when you see me in a studio, and I'm very excited for today's show. If you haven't already, please be sure to hit subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, check out the show notes, pick up a copy of Break Barriers or Audacious, and we are going to get right to it today because you could already tell who I have with me today. Today I have Carl Radke. You might know him from Summer House, but I've got to know him on a much more personal level, and he's much more than just a reality star. So thank you for joining me today.
Thanks, Bishoy. Thanks for having me, man. It's great to be in studio. Very cool place here in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Love being in person for these combos, because I feel like sometimes the virtual, yes, is effective, but there's nothing like a good old just in-person experience.
And the instructions to get here were great. They were like, hey, just walk down this alley. There's going to be a garage door. Just call this guy. He'll come down.
That's so Brooklyn, and why I love Brooklyn. It's like, that's exactly how I wanted it to be today. Like a random alley, then a cool door, and then up the stairs, and here we are.
Yeah, man. Well, like I was saying in the intro, you're a lot more than a reality TV star. You're an entrepreneur, and you are about to launch a business that now I'm getting involved in, which I'm very excited about.
Very excited to have you involved too.
Yeah, man. And I'm actually very excited to share it publicly now with the Mile 40 audience that I've invested in Soft Bar. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I got involved in the alcohol industry back in 2018, 2019. My best friend, Kyle Cook, his wife, Amanda Batula, the three of us, the two of them started the company Loverboy. I was a very early on supporter, investor, and we grew. Basically, Loverboy was an alcohol company. We grew from scratch. It was a sparkling tea, but with zero sugar. It was low calorie. Our whole thing was trying to recreate like a twisted tea, but healthier. And we grew that brand nationwide with Whole Foods, Walmart, Total Wine, Kroger. Had a fair amount of success, but I say all that because as a business, great. But then me personally, I was realizing that I had a problem with alcohol and I needed to get, some help. And it wasn't until January of 2021 that I, really hit rock bottom, got a sponsor, went to AA, but I was still involved with being a part of an alcohol company. So we launched a non-alcoholic version about 2 years ago, which I think you got some. The Loverboy non-alc is really healthy, low sugar, low calorie, but good flavor. But it was through launching the non-alc Loverboy that I realized that the work is just beginning. It's great to have non-alc options, but for someone like myself, who's almost 5 years sober now, I like being social, but I want something that isn't terrible for you, but also maybe has some healthy ingredients and things that make you feel good. So through my own experiences, was realizing that there's nowhere to drink great non-alcoholic drinks and hang out and enjoy that experience. And through the course of like the last 2.5 years, I've been concepting and building this whole vision of Soft Bar. And Soft Bar really is a destination. It's a third place. It's a community where you can come any time of day and have an amazing non-alc beverage. It could be coffee. It could be a functional drink. It could be a soft cocktail. I really believe in creating a space where there isn't alcohol, but it's still fun, still elevated, and all that. So I can go on and on.
No, I love seeing the spark on your face when you talk about it. And you spoke about it and brought mention to it a little bit with regards to your sobriety. And one of the things that I want to call out early on with regards to this episode in particular is you and I met at a very interesting time, especially with regards to where I was at the juncture of this show, and even my own personal life and some of the decisions that I've made over the last couple of years. And I had known you from afar. I'm familiar with the show, followed it at one point growing up on Long Island, knowing that you were out in the Hamptons. There was definitely some appeal there. But, life got crazy with kids, so it's not like I was following it regularly. But a couple weeks before you and I even met, I was planning out the roster for the show. And I heard you on another show, and immediately I'm on Instagram. I'm like, we've got to know a lot of the same people. I realized that we do know a lot of the same people. So I reached out to a friend or two. I'm like, hey, do you know Carl? Any chance you can make an introduction? And someone was like, yeah, sure. And nothing really happened about it. And then I had gone to a mutual friend's birthday, and that's where I had met Rachel.
Yep.
And it was the craziest of circumstances where, she had told me about her mission and the work that she was doing in the sober community. And she said she was doing work with Carl Radke and Softbar, and Carl's looking for investors. And immediately, that craziest, that's how you and I met. But one of the things that really, really stood out to me when we first met that first day at Softbar, and even to today, and in the interactions that we've had, is that you walk around with a smile that, now that I know the depths of your story and some of the things that you've had to navigate, and we'll dive into them, really says a lot about you with regards to your resilience, your determination, and your grit, with regards to how you've been able to resurrect yourself in the wake of some pretty dark circumstances. And I think you got it, man. And I think for the purposes of this show, that's some of the stuff that we want to dive into today. We want to talk a little bit about your family life. We also want to call out the fact that you are running New York this year.
Yes, sir.
So this is your first marathon?
First marathon.
Scared?
A little scared,
okay.
But I have friends and people that have done it, and have inspired me to. Yeah, I feel like I can accomplish it because I've seen other friends of mine do it, but I have hired a coach. I'm working with some groups, and I have friends that I kind of keep in touch with that help push me. But yeah, first marathon.
All right. So
I'm nervous.
What's always interesting to me around stories like yours, and something that I can relate to, is the journey to the start line. Because I'm sure at certain points of your life, you never envisioned you'd be where you are today.
No chance in hell. I mean, it's actually, I was saying this yesterday at a release recovery run club with a mutual friend of ours, Zach. And someone was like, did you ever think you'd be running like this? And I honest to God, no chance. I never thought, even as of 2 or 3 years ago, really wasn't. Now, sure, I'd go to Barry's boot camp. I would have no problem running a 5K. But that's where it stopped. And I was kind of just doing other things and focused on other avenues of my life. But since I got sober in 2021, fitness and wellness has been a major focal point for me. And whether it's acupuncture or meditation, the working out, but then the running piece was like another level that I didn't expect. But something I experience when I run is I get high from it. And not to totally compare it to like the drug thing, but the running high I get, it's almost like I crave that feeling. And it's something that kind of sets me up for the rest of the day. And I went to see my head bartender at Softbar. He works also at 11 Madison Park. And last year when we were working together on building the concept, he was telling me I'm running the New York City Marathon. And he's an amazing guy, and he never really run one. And looking at him training for it, I'm like, if he can do it, I can do it, I think. So I went out on Marathon Sunday. I live in Greenpoint, and right before you cross the Pulaski Bridge is kind of the last stop.
So is that like mile 13-ish?
Yes, 9, 10, 11, or it's from like 10 to 13. In that realm. So
it gets a little quiet there.
It does. So I went to the bottom of the bridge to cheer people on, and I was tracking my friend Richie. The energy that day, I'd never really experienced the New York City Marathon. And I was the one partying through the night and sleeping in during the New York City Marathon days. So it was just I caught the bug that day, and I saw all these other individuals and the community that came together. I was like, I got to do this. So I set a goal from that point. And I wanted to do it, but I had to start with a half marathon and then work my way up.
It's dangerous to be a spectator at New York City because I remember my first was in 2017, and then I ran the Marine Corps in 2018, but I was dating my wife for the second time around the New York City Marathon that year, and she lives in downtown Brooklyn.
Wow.
And I remember going downstairs to check it out right around mile 8. And that's when I made a promise to myself I was never missing that race again, because it's very easy to get that bug.
Totally. I mean, it's like, I feel like it's one of the most important days in New York City.
Absolutely.
That I don't think I fully realized.
You don't realize it
until you're actually in it. And then you have friends that are running, or you have different communities that you support that come together. Even restaurants and businesses have.
Yeah, the amount of money that's injected into the city.
It's amazing.
Nothing like it. And we had Rob Simmelcare, the CEO. He's been on the show.
Great.
And so a lot of ties there.
Yeah, I mean, it's been like the sobriety connection for me has been really cool. And I've met a lot of folks, as I got into the sober lifestyle, like you need things, you need community, you need places where you can gather and get together with friends and feel connected. And the running part has been another element. Now, not everybody, like I went to a run club yesterday, not everybody was sober, but they're there for this common kind of wanting to connect with people that care about their bodies and care about how they treat themselves. And it's just really cool to see the city. It opens up more than you realize when you stop drinking, or at least for me it did, with all these different things to do. And
no, it's crazy what being present can do.
100%. Exactly. Being engaged and you're 2 feet on the ground. Like I was always chasing, the night and chasing the morning and just other things. And now, I turned 40 in January. Yeah. So I have a whole new lease on just kind of being able to live in New York and all the different things that are here that are at our fingertips that are so beautiful. The parks, the outdoor spaces, the coffee shops, and the spaces that I'm about to open, hopefully. There's a lot of excitement, I think, for people that still live a lifestyle like I live.
Yeah, man. No, absolutely. I mean, that was one of my realizations too. I stopped drinking almost 3 years ago and kind of went through the same motions of, how is this going to work? Am I going out east?
Yeah.
What's Surf Lodge going to be like? What is Surf Lodge going to be like
100%.
Without, a bottle in front of me and drinks in my hand? Are they even going to let me in?
100%.
Is really the question that was kind of running through my head at the time.
What was answered? Did you find?
I found it to be honest, even better.
Yeah.
Because you know what's going on.
Yep. You can hear the music.
Especially with the music, right? Yep. Like Surf Lodge is known for the DJs that they bring on, right? And you're actually paying attention.
Yep. I was there, I want to say a year into my sobriety, and I was also nervous, like you said.
Yeah.
Because the same places that I would go get a big bottle of rosé or get a big bottle of tequila. Yeah. And I was chasing other things too, but I went that day, and the band, it was St. Lucia, and it was an incredible performance. And I actually was like, I don't know if I remembered the music before. Yeah. You were there, but you was a blur. I was chasing girls. I was doing God knows what. But my first time back sober was actually like a breath of fresh air. I was like, oh, this is actually really fun. Yeah. And I didn't spend a crazy amount of money. Yeah. Yeah. And I actually remembered the performance. So.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. And it just, for me, it's been getting better and better, because you just become more and more comfortable, in your own skin. You begin to realize, what's important for you, what it is that you want out of certain situations. And, you move with a purpose.
Totally. And I think you build a confidence as you kind of understand that it's like you could, like almost like running in a way. I think once you run 2 or 3 miles, you're like, okay, I can maybe run 5 miles now. And I can go to Surf Lodge without drinking. Yeah. I can go to Tao without drinking. And you start building a confidence, and your skin gets a little bit thicker. But, a lot of times I am reminded when I am in those social situations of why I don't drink too. Yeah. People ask me all the time, like, how do you do it? Or how do you film Summer House? And for me, I was at a point in my story where I really hit a low, the lowest I've hit. But not everybody gets to that point. But I'm lucky that I was able to take inventory at that point and really get the help I needed. But when I'm social and when I'm out and about, I'm reminded all the time of exactly why I do, why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I have a lot of friends that still like to have a good time, but I know when to say peace out. I know when to back away. And there's just many, many times I'm out east or in the New York City area socially, and after being at a bar for 2 or 3 hours,
you know what to do.
I'm like, okay, it's time. I've had the same conversation over. People are getting louder, annoying maybe slightly, but I've really learned to love New York City and the Hamptons. even in a bigger way now because of not drinking. It's given so much more to do now.
Well, one of the things that you've done, and I don't even know if you're conscious of this, especially, people are going to see as the show continues to go on, is you've helped normalize it. Like, I went to the house a couple of weeks ago, right? And it was funny to think about how I would have behaved had you invited me 3 years ago to the same house versus how I behaved and how you were behaving 3 years ago or 5 years ago versus now, right? Yep. And like, I'm looking at the pool. I mean, 5 years ago I was single. Now I'm married, so different situation. Sure. But, and look, for anyone out there, there's definitely a ratio that goes into that house. And so it was really, really cool though to see how you normalized it. So that way, it didn't feel weird. It didn't feel not normal.
Totally. And I take a lot of pride. Pride, and I'm very grateful. I'll start with grateful. Yeah. Like, it's not lost on me that when you're on a show that does revolve around a lot of partying, certainly there's drama that ensues because of that. There's, I think a big element in my head that like, okay, I'm boring now, or I'm not as interesting. Yeah. And what I realize is like, it's actually more interesting to see me go through kind of this baby steps of sobriety and dating now without alcohol and partying without alcohol. But I feel a sense of pride because I'm able to show, I think, some other people that you can be in a kind of a party environment or a house in the Hamptons and still have fun, but in your own different way. And over the it's been 5 years I've been filming out there without drinking or doing any hard drugs. It's been cool because many people come up to me at the parties and I invite friends that are, and it's nice to showcase with them or be there with them and kind of give them a glimmer of kind of my life in the house. Yeah. But I also think it's very relatable. I mean, I'm sure we have a lot of mutual friends, but there are certainly, as we've gotten older, people within our friend groups that they can't drink, and that's totally fine, whether it's diet, religion, or whatever. Yeah. But people's stories evolve, and I think it's actually pretty normal with the big group of friends that one guy doesn't drink or doesn't do hard drugs anymore because he had a problem. Like, I think that's actually more normal. Yeah, no, I agree. So I feel really lucky that I've been given the chance to kind of. Yeah, because you have a platform, and when someone with a platform, again, moves with purpose and intention and is aware, it could be impactful for more people than you ever anticipated. And I almost feel called to be in, I certainly didn't like wake up one morning like, okay, I'm going to start promoting, sobriety. It kind of found me, and I really have been doing a lot of work, and obviously I've been through a fair amount of things that have led me to this, but it's been really cool to be kind of in the position I'm in where I feel so good. Yeah. And I'm like, I can't. It feels like a cheat code. Yeah. Right? It feels like a cheat code. It does. And that's the thing I keep repeating on the show anytime this topic comes up is I'm not trying to be a poster boy for sobriety because I had my fair share of fun with alcohol. And, when I was in those moments, I was loving life, but it literally feels like I've uncovered a cheat code. We talk about the surf lodge, and every time I go on a run in Montauk, I'm just running past it. And I remember every time I run past it, I'm thinking, man, I feel a lot better than like 85% of the people in there right now. I mean, and you just feel like you cheated the system. Totally. And it's just for multiple purposes. It's like some dude in there is dropping an absurd amount of money, not going to feel good about himself tomorrow, going to say something that he regrets. That was me. Yeah, same. And, here I am just kind of on my runner's high, feeling good about life, knowing that I got back, I'm gonna jump in the pool, whatever it is, and feel good. It's nice to hear more of that being normalized. Yeah. And I think more and more my hope with just everything I've been doing to share publicly, to share loudly, is to inspire other people, even if they don't necessarily have a problem. Yeah. People that just want a better lifestyle or better mental health or just more sound relationship with themselves. I just love seeing people kind of arrive or find, I think a different path. Listen, things have evolved a lot in our society in the last 20 years since social media, since internet. I'm 40. I remember days where I didn't have a cell phone. I'm dating myself big time, but like we've, as a society, anxiety, isolation, there's a lot of people that are struggling to ask for help. Yeah. Even with the resources that we have at our fingertips, like TikTok and Instagram, it's still important for people to see folks that are more normalized, not necessarily some big celebrity. And I don't really view myself as that. Yeah. but I feel very called and I'm in a position to really be honest and share. But where it's been hard for me, I will say, is you almost get this like perception that when you're vocal and loud about your story or sobriety or recovery, that you're like some authority or I'm a doctor or a therapist. It was hard at first because I had a lot of people reach out to me for advice and
you don't know.
I don't know. I only know what works best for me. But I've been in an interesting spot where I did realize that there are a lot of folks that they would relate more to someone like me than they would. I related to athletes. Michael Phelps, Kevin Love, DeMar DeRozan, Darren Waller. Those guys shared a lot about their mental health or their addiction or drinking or whatever it was. But I realized that someone might be watching Bravo. Male, women, whoever might be, just for one little second could relate to me just because I'm less of a athlete than those big athletes. So it's been cool to be in this position because I really do feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be and sharing loudly to ultimately help other people. Yeah,
you never know who's watching and who's listening. And that's one of the things that I've learned too, is like people are always going to be looking for that intersection of relatability with you, right? And whoever you are. And, you know, behind the reality TV aspect of your life, you grew up in Pittsburgh, right? You came from a middle upper class family. You went to Syracuse. Like, you've navigated the divorce of parents. We're going to talk about you know, life bottoming out for you and the circumstances around your brother. Like, you know, that's real. That's more real than any of the stuff that people see on TV.
Totally. Well, it's so interesting when you sign up to be on like a reality show or you join. Sorry, my phone's vibrating a little bit.
You're all good.
You sometimes have this idea what you think you want people to know about you. And I think we all have a version of ourselves we want to tell everyone else. The story we've sold ourselves and we believe, and that's actually important things. You said something at the beginning of this, which I want to get back to, about smiling. And there's a quote. It's like, the most important decision you make every day is to be in a good mood. And I really subscribe to that, even if you're going through a hard time, trying to smile. But I forget what I was going to say exactly. I just lost my tangent.
No, it's all good. But you know, truth be told, before you and I met, obviously I knew you from afar with regards to the show. And then as we were going through the soft bar opportunity, I had to just kind of like ask around for people to watch the show. I'm like, what do you guys think of Carl? Like, what do I need to know about Carl? Like, is this something that I need to like, am I like looking at this the right way? Is this just a good opportunity with regards to something I'm interested in? And one of the things that really stood out about you the entire time was the fact that you were just so incredibly genuine. And again, it felt like everything that you were doing was purposeful. And I leaned into that. I leaned into that big time with regards to making the decision around, you know, investing, but also just kind of saying, hey, like, this is a dude that I want in my circle. Like, this is a dude who's doing something that I think needs to be done and who's using his platform to empower others.
I appreciate that, man.
Of course. But going back to that smile, you know, after seeing that, I saw that smile after listening to the depths of your story. And thinking to myself, wow, like, it's not easy, man.
No,
it's not easy, but it doesn't seem like you are running away from your past. It feels like you've been healing.
Healing is a definitely big word that I love and I try to really focus on, because there's certainly, we all have our childhood traumas and we have past relationships and we have things that are always going to keep rearing their heads. But you know, since I got sober, it was really when the work began, where you really have to face those feelings and those emotions and the childhood stuff. And that was actually important work that I just had been avoiding for a long time. And, you know, I've been I was with some guys last night that he was in his 4th year of sobriety and he was like, just kind of hitting a rut. And I was like trying to give him some of my advice. And, you know, it's interesting to meet so many different people at various parts of their story. But I just feel like, I don't know, like I'm learning also every day and I'm constantly evolving. And what's been cool about, you said something that just kind of made me think of this, which is to live more purposefully and mindfully. And when you really like spread that message and you really stand for something with meaning, it attracts and it creates an energy that it's coming to fruition in a way. And what I mean by that is, like, when I started building this concept, I really was important to build the bones and the foundation the right way. And I brought in a team of experts and women and men to help build this concept. But then when you stand for something so meaningful and powerful, it attracts people because they want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And what's been cool is I've had colleagues and friends like Rachel.
Yeah.
Rachel and I have been friends, but then we're building this business.
Yeah.
But she carries some of that energy
forward
in her day.
And I feel like that's how you and I ultimately met. It felt like a transfer of energy.
And I love
that. And it's funny, I'm happier we met that way than someone else being like, hey, talk to this guy because you got to come on his podcast.
Yes.
And so it's funny how that ultimately was the way, but it's also, it says something really about the transfer of energy.
Exactly. And I've met a lot of people, and I'd say for anyone who's like scared or maybe feeling a little alone in their kind of not drinking journey or not using drugs or whatever, there are energies, and I think people you can align yourself with and communities you can align yourself with. And it's been really exciting because I've met so many people in the last 2 years since running, building this soft bar concept, being very vocal publicly, and finding, other communities to connect with that we all have a lot of commonality. And it just takes sometimes someone just like open up a little bit for other people to open up more. And it's funny, like I don't care anymore about being so honest. Like it doesn't.
There's no reason not to. I mean,
it's like the best thing ever is like, Carl, I'm an alcoholic and I'm a cocaine addict. Like, what do you want? Like, I just own it, and that's the best feeling.
I mean, there's not. Yeah, I mean that's really the best part about all this. It's like you can own your past in a way that you were running away from.
Yeah.
Over and over again, and the things we told ourselves. And we keep going back to this, but I think it's just so important. Like I remember early on in my career, the narrative you told yourself about the fact that you had to drink and be the last man standing and be the guy who just walked into the office after a full night out because that's what you had to do. And because that was going to get you in front of the right people, and that was going to open up the doors, and that was going to help you get to where you want to go. And I was talking to my wife about this just yesterday about the fact that like my network has expanded exponentially in the right direction in ways that I never could have imagined.
Yep.
Because I'm actually present during the conversations and I'm actually aware of what's going on. And I can also, I think more importantly, know when to walk away from the conversations that I don't want to be a part of or the rooms that I don't want to be in. And I could really just be a hawk around where it is that I want to go and who I want to get in front of.
I'm smiling while you say this because I experience and relate to what you're saying so much, because the connections that I've been able to generate without the influence of alcohol or drugs, been just that much more meaningful. And then also on the other side of it, there used to be times, I'm sure you maybe would relate, but like I'd be at a bar or be drinking and partying, and like you'd spend an extra 5 years on some person that was just really founded on just drinking and nonsense.
Yeah.
Versus like if you were sober, you'd be like, okay, that person's cool, but not for me. I'm not gonna like just hang out with them all the time. It helps me make better decisions. Obviously my body tells me a lot, but the genuine connections I've made have been astounding since I've really put my path forward on this lifestyle and leaning in on the running and the community and just better energy and like kind of aligning with that. And I truly believe if you align yourself so well like that, you're kind of you're setting yourself up for more success, and the people you interact with on a daily basis are some of the most important things. Like who you really surround yourself with. I have a saying, it's probably from an old basketball coach, but it's like, you're only as good as your worst player or your worst friend. And obviously the idea is you have just quality people you surround yourself with that are also smarter than you. Maybe more interesting or more energetic, but
well, especially as a business owner and entrepreneur now, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room.
No. And I also have learned a lot just by not micromanaging, empowering people.
Let people do what they do best, right?
Exactly. Like give them the tools.
Your strengths, your weaknesses, and allow people to run.
Exactly. And I've really benefited if I had been drinking and running or building soft bar. Let's say I was somehow still drinking and,
and then
building a non-alcoholic bar.
Concept.
I would be a micromanager. I would have been angry and opinionated about things that didn't warrant or need that. But it's been a blessing because I've kind of try to embody this lifestyle, and then I've met other folks that try to, and we're all kind of collectively I think trying to rise each other's tide or boats or whatever the saying is. So
let's make sure we touch on your brother.
The good news about my brother and the timeliness of it. So yesterday, and August 10th is when my brother passed. August 11th is when I found out. So yesterday and the day before Sunday are always, in the last couple of years, like a very emotional day. You know, I have a lot of folks that have reached out and are supportive. But, you know, long story short of it is my brother, you know, passed from a drug overdose. He had growing up, I was 5 years younger than him, but he was like my hero. You know, most brother relationships can have their ups and downs. And like most brothers, we fought and wrestled and beat each other up. But I always really looked up to him. And then as he got into his teenager years, into high school, and where we're from in Pittsburgh, he went down a different path. And I went the opposite path. I was good grades, student council, volunteering. I worked at the church. I tried my best to be the opposite of him. But what I didn't uncover or understand until I got older was it's a disease that he struggled with, and his mental illness and his drug addiction, you know, was so powerful that he could never really escape these demons. And he had an up and down roller coaster. But as I got into my teens and into my adulthood, I realized that I also have a problem. So me and him are kind of living these parallel lives, but not really addressing it. And as I joined reality TV, you know, a lot of my issues started to be exposed on TV. Like if you watch, you can kind of see that I struggled with drinking and had a lot of outbursts. And
were you aware?
At the time, no, but it was, dare I say, sobering, watching myself back. Veins popping and just acting crazy. And I never really, of course I'd been acting like that. I just never saw myself acting like that. But my brother was rooting for me and was happy I was doing the TV thing, because I did go to Syracuse. I studied television and film in college. My whole family had always known I wanted to do TV stuff. But long story short, he was rooting for me. But he tuned in to watch an episode. And that particular episode, I actually was talking about my brother. And it's something I still to this day will never forget. I was basically making excuses for my drunkenness because he had struggled with heroin. And he saw that. And he was really upset. I mean, he went on the public platform at that time was Facebook. I mean, he posted post after post. Really, he tagged Bravo, he tagged friends, he tagged me. He was very upset.
Did everyone know? I mean, it's kind of hard.
It was very common knowledge in the community where I'm from and our family and everybody that my brother had some challenges. His name had been in the newspaper. I mean, not like, I mean, you read the newspaper here in New York and sure, there's really difficult stories and things. I mean, he'd be getting arrested for stealing he worked at an Outback steakhouse. He got arrested or in trouble for stealing money from Outback. There was a 7-Eleven convenience store that him and a friend had gotten in some sort of situation. Things like that were written up in the news. Among the community, people were aware that my brother had some struggles. So like I said, I did everything I could growing up to like avoid that. But what people don't understand is the home I grew up in, the community we were in was very upper class, great schools, but our, you know, financial situation wasn't as great. We weren't poor. We were taken care of, but we lived in a really small home, one bathroom, and the bedroom that I lived in was also with my brother. We had like a shared big bedroom. So a lot of his drinking, underage drinking and drug use, I was just like a front row seat, but 5 years younger. So I lived with a lot of this like mystery and not knowing he would shoot heroin and I would watch that and I didn't really realize at the time. So I was always exposed to like this. I basically was like living with a drug addict, but not realizing I was living with one and developing my own safety blanket and just ways to like deal with it all. But it really didn't come to fruition until I got to college in Syracuse, joined a fraternity, started drinking and doing a lot of cocaine. But we both had these paths that were very different, or so I thought. But when I started talking about his stuff on TV, and then that really created a big divide. The last time I spoke to him was at my grandfather's funeral, a couple weeks after that. We carried my grandfather's casket. I gave a eulogy. My brother attempted. He was not in the right frame of mind. But that was the last time I spoke to him in person. You know, I told him I loved him. It was an uncomfortable moment, but there was a moment.
Was there an apology?
I mean, I basically said, I'm sorry, I love you. You know, and we kind of just kept it moving from there. But fast forward, it's 2020. You know, we're all in a very interesting place in our lives. I was out east that summer. quarantining, we did start filming a new season. And I made a point that beginning of that summer, I was going to moderate drinking. I was really going to take a break and get some help. Of course, if you really do struggle with alcohol, moderation is not your friend.
No.
For me, I was like, oh, I'll just drink Loverboy.
Yeah.
Of course, I drank 4 Loverboys, and the next thing I know, I'm having a tequila soda and I'm drinking something else. I got a phone call August 11th, while in the house. I was sitting in bed. It was 7 a.m, and my phone rang on the nightstand, and it was my mom. And as soon as I saw my mom pop up at that hour,
you knew something.
I just knew. Now, what was really confusing is 10 days prior to that, August 1st, my mom had gotten remarried. My mom and my father had a divorce and separation. My mom met an amazing new guy. They were getting married August 1st. So we celebrated this amazing wedding. It was so exciting. And then 10 days later, my brother was found in downtown Pittsburgh underneath a bridge, dead. And my mom called me to inform me. But our house in the Hamptons was loaded with cameras, and we were filming.
Yeah.
So this whole experience was captured on camera, and I wasn't prepared for that. Looking back on it, I'm grateful for it happening, because ultimately my brother would have wanted to help people. And that's the only way I've made sense of it happening the way it did, is that people that have watched the show or have a sibling or a loved one that struggles, it hopefully helps a little bit. But what I really couldn't wrap my head around was, how the hell does this happen where I just wanted my brother, if he's going to pass away, but not while I'm filming. Not while the cameras are rolling. So it's just this insane moment that happened on our show that they covered very carefully and protectively, and they were very supportive of me. But I went off the deep end after that. I used not only the grief and the sadness, but it was like my ticket to do whatever the fuck I wanted. And I went off, like I said, we continued to film that summer, and I was drinking, but also hiding drinking. I would have a bottle of gin in the bathroom and just pour shots of gin and just rip gin. And I don't even like gin. That was just like what I could get to get me like enough of a feeling. Fast forward to the fall, I went back to my Soho apartment in New York, and just the wave of grief. We had the funeral, and honestly, anybody who's ever lost a sibling would probably agree. Like the first 2-3 weeks are really horrible, obviously, but the love and the support, people checking in. I was very lucky with the public nature of it. People were reaching out. But then it slowly starts to slow down.
It gets quiet.
It gets quieter. And then it's like,
it's just you.
December, cold in New York. I'm on my couch by myself, Tuesday night, drinking, doing coke by myself, calling friends, crying, saying things. Now it's January 1st, doing the same exact thing. January 6th, I'm watching the news. I'm sitting on my laptop. I would work on my laptop, have a bottle of wine, and watch like CNN or Bloomberg. I always thought I was being smart. I like having smart TV on. And that day was a really interesting day for our government and the U.S. history. It doesn't matter what way you politically lean. I was not pleased with what was happening in D.C. personally. It was very upsetting. And I started to drink. And it's like 6 p.m. and I'm watching the Capitol progressively get crazier. Order another bottle of wine. And anybody knows in New York, you can get wine delivered very quickly. I also had a cocaine delivery guy that was even quicker than a pizza delivery guy. So I started doing coke and watching the news. And I basically drank and did so much cocaine, I lost consciousness and don't really remember what happened. But what I learned later on by just looking at my phone and talking to some people, I called a bunch of people and basically I don't want to live anymore. I'm not doing well. Scared a lot of people. And I scared myself. And I woke up out of that January 7th, the next day, and was like, I can't live like this again. And a big part of that was, what kind of person do I want to be? What kind of individual, what do I want to stand for? Because what was happening from the time my brother passed until that moment I got sober was I have screenshots of it. Like, because of being on reality TV, we are in the news a fair amount with Us Weekly or OK Magazine. And some of it's just fluffy pop culture and Kyle and Carl at the club.
Page 6,
Page 6, they're on a date or whatever. And I was getting press articles saying how great I was doing post Carl's brother passing and how well I was not.
That was far from the truth.
Oh my God. I'm reading this OK Magazine thing with like red wine on my lips
Yeah.
and like coke coming out of my nose.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I'm a fraud. I'm an imposter. I'm actually not sober. People are praising me like I'm going through this very tragic thing. And it just always like a wave. And I finally, that January 7th, I slept off that night. The next morning, January 8th, I called a friend of mine who had worked at Goldman, a super successful guy, but him and I before had used to party really hard. And he called me kind of hearing through the grapevine, I was beginning some level of moderation. And he's like, you're not going to stay sober if you don't go to AA. Yeah. And I was like, I was actually mad on the phone. I was like, fuck you. Yeah. Because I was caught off guard. He's kind of a alpha finance guy. And
yeah, I know. I was one of them.
We know them. Love them. I have a lot of finance friends. And he was one that was kind of like a dick. Yeah. Or it felt like that. But I remember that convo. I called him January 8th. I said, I need some help. And he put me in touch with another friend of his who had been a sponsor. And lo and behold, he did also work at Goldman. And for whatever reason, I needed like that level of a perspective, someone I could aspire, and also respect. I had this notion that a lot of people that my brother, his appearance to me, like he looks like someone that struggles. Yeah. But then my appearance was like white collar, clean cut, but I struggled too. Yeah. But it was like shocking to me that you could meet like a very successful executive from one of the biggest banks in the world.
Oh no, you have no idea.
And his story was insane. Yeah. But 10 years sober, had a family now, kids, and he's worked through things, and now he sponsors and takes people in. I needed that. I needed to like connect with an individual. I was like, wait, that guy? Yeah. Versus, oh, that guy makes sense. Yeah. So it was just really powerful. But that January 8th, 2021 was the first day I committed and went to meetings, but that's where the work really began. And I had to still grieve the loss of my brother. And he lives with me and he's a big part of my journey and my trajectory. But that was like a big catalyst for me to actually, wake up.
It's not fair to compare anyone's stories, but as you're talking, I'm just thinking to myself around, you mentioned an executive at Goldman, and then you look at someone like yourself. There's an additional layer to all this when you have a certain persona that enables you to hide from yourself even more. Like, you're not just hiding from yourself, you're hiding from cameras, you're hiding from press, you're hiding from paparazzi, you're hiding from opinion, you're hiding from, what the girl you're talking to at the bar is going to think about you. You're hiding from everybody. Whereas, again, someone else who is not as public is still hiding, but it's a little bit more subtle. And I think that's not spoken about enough. I mean, and thankfully you're highlighting it, but I think it's important because especially now in the age of social media, and one of the things that I feel like I consistently see now, I'm a big New York Post guy. One of the things
Great headlines.
They
had some of the most amazing headlines, I think, of all time.
Yeah. I mean, low key, one of my goals is to like make like a page 6 sightings section, but like host a Mile 40 podcast, spotted at Surf Lodge type of situation, like for the right reasons.
We're going to make this happen.
Yeah. For the right reasons.
Yep.
But going back to it, unfortunately, I feel like in the last 2 weeks alone, I read, TikToker dies of suicide, Instagrammer dies of suicide, whatever it may be. And it's like we are just hiding so much of ourselves in a world where we're so public now. Yep. And I think that adds an additional layer to all this. And I want to ask, you had mentioned that your mother got remarried. Talk to me a little bit about family-wise. Did you have anyone to lean into, with regards to your parents as they were probably going through a difficult time those last couple of years? Was there ever a semblance of a unit? Even, sometimes tragedy brings people together.
Great question. I mean, I think, my dad had made some poor choices in their marriage that ultimately, he decided to move on from, which I created a big gap between me and my dad, which was another resentment that I had to do a lot of work on once I got sober, because I used to call my dad drunk and yell at him and say crazy shit. But once my brother passed, I'll never forget this moment, but I got that call at the summer house in the Hamptons. I went on the longest run actually up until started running that day. I like ran around Sag Harbor and Watermill for like 10 hours. I like walked and ran because I just didn't know what to do with myself. But I came back I drove from the Hamptons to Pittsburgh for the funeral. And I immediately on the drive home, I called my parents and they were together in person at the home I grew up in. And I was like, they were not cool, or so I thought. I show up to the house and it was like this really surreal feeling where it was the three of us together. My brother wasn't there, obviously, but we hugged, we cried, but it was like this crazy like healing that happened between my parents. And since that day, my parents have been friends again. Even more interesting, my mom, when she got remarried, married a minister. He had worked in a church for almost 30 years. He's a very powerful orator, speaker, and great presence. So we actually asked him to do the service. So at my brother's funeral, you got me, my mom, who's been just remarried 10 days, and now her husband giving the service. And then my father, and then his remarried situation, which I've come to warm up to. But there's been something really beautiful about my brother passing that it's brought our family closer. And this is something I don't know if I've shared this before, but I'm going to do it now. I still occasionally will go to Al-Anon. Al-Anon is a subset somewhat of the AA community of these worlds where if you have a family member who struggles with alcoholism or addiction, it's resources for the family member. So I used to go with my mom in support of my brother. And it's funny being in those rooms and like listening, I'm like, maybe this is for me too. But I went to an Al-Anon meeting about 2 months ago. I was on Park Avenue on 79th Street in New York. And there was a really nice Al-Anon group. And I sat there didn't know anybody. No one actually knew me at all. There was no like Summerhouse Carl, none of this. It's just Carl, the New York City living guy. I started explaining some of my brother's story. So my brother was found underneath a bridge in downtown Pittsburgh, which is kind of known for drug activity, homelessness. And I'm telling this story to this group and a lot of women in the group, and I'm emotional. And a woman stops me and she goes, "What was the name of the bridge?" I was like, "The Liberty Bridge." She looks at me and she's like, "He's free." And I just like started just unloading. And what I really struggled with was the thought of my brother being by himself. You know, I've been offered opportunities to look at photos of where he was found. Even recently, my stepfather texted me. He's like, "Hey, would you like to see these photos?" And I said, I don't know if I'm ready. But they are there. But I think I'm more comfortable now because of this notion, which is there's something very freeing about my brother's passing in a way. He was so diseased. He was so caught up in demons and couldn't get out of his own way that my dad still contends he's in a safer place. My brother lived a very hard life. The thought of even him being under the bridge shooting heroin, it's just unfathomable to think of the low of that feeling for someone else. But this woman in this meeting was like, flipped it on its head. She's like, "The Liberty Bridge, he's free." And it just blew me away. And I've had some breakthroughs like that with my parents becoming closer, going to Al-Anon and meeting other people. I've met so many people on the streets of New York that say I've helped them get sober, or my brother's passing has helped them. So my brother, even though he's not with us, he's still with me, and he's still literally impacting people's lives. So that in and of itself is true beauty. And I feel really lucky that he's protecting me and looking out for me and kind of living with me. And, you know, I connect with him in various ways with music. He left behind like a list of like a playlist. And the other day I was listening to some of his, you know, he's got some Bob Marley, he's got some Grateful Dead, he's got Alice in Chains, he's got Tool. Like my brother was a true 90s, 80s baby, and music was a really cool thing for us to connect with. So as much as it's been one of the hardest things I've ever been through, the difficulty, and anybody who's ever had a sibling or a loved one who really struggles, I'm not wishing death upon anybody, and I would do anything to get him back. But when you're in that level of addiction and mental illness, you know, I feel like he's in a safer place. And I still hold on to that. But that breakthrough I had at the meeting not that long ago honestly changed me. It was like something I didn't expect.
Yeah.
And I'll say this last little part.
Yeah.
At the run club last night, I always try to make a point to run with someone I haven't run with before, or just buddy up with someone. And this guy had a cool Bandit shirt on, and he had some nice runners on, and I was asking about his shoes, and he looked like a serious runner, and he was telling me this story. He ran a 100-mile marathon on behalf of a charity. A woman, and he's from Vancouver, and a woman in Vancouver, I believe, had cancer, and he really...
Maddie Christopherson?
Yes.
Yeah, he's been on the show. And
yes.
Yeah, so he's an incredible human.
Yes.
And he's doing his run club 30 run clubs in 30 days. Yeah.
So Maddie and I were talking last night.
Yeah.
Running. Maddie starts describing he's a twin brother.
Yeah.
He is an identical twin.
Yeah.
And I believe Maddie shared this publicly, so I don't feel like and he was basically, him and his brother had a falling out.
Yeah.
Big resentments, and they weren't talking, and he had made efforts and tried. He then reached out and said, I'm running this 100-mile marathon. Didn't hear anything from him. I guess at the race, his brother showed up. So I'm running in Central Park last night. We're 3 miles in, getting to know Maddie.
Yeah.
And he tells me this, and I'm just like, I got to tell you, like, today is the anniversary of my brother passing. And I didn't expect to meet you or have this experience, but we literally stopped in the middle of the run on the loop of Central Park and gave each other a huge hug.
Oh, man.
And people were behind us witnessing this, and they were like, why are you guys hugging? And I'm like, we just like,
you have no idea.
We just had a really vulnerable moment. And as two men, I find it so important that men can be open and honest, especially about their brothers or things that they've experienced. So Maddie, I love you, man. His little story about his brother, but it was the persistence of him just trying to will some positivity into the relationship. His brother showed up to the 100-mile marathon, gave him like that extra boost. So I'll be thinking of my brother on marathon day. He'll be with me the whole time. But it was just stuff like that pops up and is, I think, reminders of, why you do what you do. Yeah,
man. No, I mean, I just imagine that now, yesterday you guys running and having that moment.
I can't make this shit up.
Knowing you both, I mean, I know that. It
was just such a funny experience. And like anybody who has a brother or a sister, I care deeply about my friendships and the people I surround myself with. And I view a lot of I call you brother, like a lot of my male friends and women friends, I call brother or sister.
Yeah.
Because I truly cherish that connection because of what I don't have per se. And anytime I hear about brothers or sisters from other people, I always am like, try to remind them how special that is.
It goes back to that notion of energy, right? And Maddie, similar to you, I don't know how deep you guys got in conversations, but he's been open about this, especially recently. He's navigating his first season post being separated and away from his wife.
Yes,
right?
Yes, he got into that a little bit too.
Yeah,
which also was
and kind of similarly to you, when I met Maddie, there's this authentic glow around the healing process and around the fact that like I'm gonna own what I've lived through and what I've had to navigate, but as I'm sure you saw yesterday, right, there's that resilience, right? It's like I'm gonna keep showing up, right? Like what he's doing right now, he's gonna keep showing up.
He's a beast. I mean, I literally said that to one of my other friends. I was like, this guy's a beast, and like that, he inspired me. And like I didn't expect that, and that's what's so cool. Sometimes you go to showing up, being present, being mindful, and the amount of people I've met just through those kind of experiences has been life-changing. And I continue to meet people that way. And that's like, I'm just reminded every day when I go to these events and connect with these communities that there's so much good stuff here. And there's so much untapped still ahead that makes me excited. I didn't go last night to meet Maddie, right? Yeah. I went because I needed to get some miles in. Yeah. My coach has been giving me a hard time. I wanted to support release. I wanted to see Zach.
Yeah.
And what I got out of that had nothing to do really with Zach.
Yep.
It was about my brother and me and Maddie and this shared kind of
crazy
thing. And it was really beautiful. And we were texting last night. I'm going to shoot him another text.
Amazing.
I forget you and I have a lot of...
Let him know. We'll send him that picture today.
He was talking about this whole podcast tour and he's going to all these run clubs. And
it was
awesome.
And I know he's been working with Michael Chernow also, former guest on the show. And so like...
I got to meet Michael last night for the first time, and he had some really powerful...
He's someone we got to bring to softball. I don't know if he's already been
So he's going to, I think, come through. We met last night.
Amazing.
And he was all about it.
Amazing.
So yeah, it's just been cool to like showing up for people.
Yeah.
I feel like I've talked a lot about myself, but I've really made an effort to try and be there for other people and not always be about yourself. As an alcoholic and a drug addict, we always have a way to make things about us and play the victim. And I think a big part of my story in the last couple of years is really trying to show up for others. And a big part of why I want to build Soft Bar is something for myself, truthfully. But I've seen how much this could impact someone who doesn't know where to hang out without alcohol, someone who just recently taking a break, someone who's pregnant and wants just a place to chill, or someone who looking for a business meeting that isn't in a loud, boisterous bar.
Yeah.
So I just really think this is another extension of my way of carrying on this kind of energy of just showing up for people and allowing other people to show up for other people too.
Hey all, it's me, Bishoy. As a marathon runner and endurance athlete, I've come to understand the importance of properly fueling your body for preparation and recovery. Every day, you get a shot at success. How you start your day typically paints a picture of what the rest of the day will look like. Start your day with a super convenient, healthy, and delicious nutritional win. Meal 1 by Creatures of Habit. Overnight oatmeal packed with 30 grams of plant-based protein, chia, flax, and pumpkin seeds. Vitamin D3, omega-3s, a probiotic, and digestive enzymes made in under 1 minute. Stop wasting time or worrying about what to eat as your first meal of the day. Start with meal 1. Visit creaturesofhabit.com, creatures spelled with a K, and use code MILE40 for 15% off a one-time purchase or the first subscription order payment. We got the time check from the studio.
Shit.
No, we got it from the studio. So we're gonna.
Well, we're gonna do part 2 at some point.
But I got a couple quick questions for you. The first one's gonna be a loaded question, just because of the time, right?
Yeah.
So just bear with me on this.
I got you.
Obviously, you've navigated a lot, and we've barely scratched the surface. Your brother being a focal point of your journey and your bottoming out moment, you'll call it your mile 40 moment. Being the passing of your brother under those, very difficult circumstances, and you've had to navigate a lot in your lifetime. On the public stage, you also navigated a very public breakup. And while this isn't Bravo and we're going to go E-News and we're not going to talk about that, what I do want to talk about is, and kind of try to summarize this into one question, is around, you talk about the coming together of your family in the wake of tragedy, right? And you talk about that process. And over the course of your entire lifetime, you've obviously been able to witness the ups and downs of your parents. You've been able to see your brother navigate, his demons, and your semblance of navigating relationships, whether it was when you were younger, a little healthier, and then earlier on, now you're starting to get into the spotlight, and I'm sure girls are flooding in your direction. Talk to me a little bit about what that era taught you about yourself and how quickly you were potentially able to rebound, because the truth of the matter is not many people know what it would be like to have a relationship like that, spotlighted like that, and kind of navigate it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a process, going through a pretty public breakup and healing from it. The unusual part of what had transpired was, this actually took place in real life, but there was cameras that did capture some of this. So not only it happened in real life, but then 6-7 months later, it was now a big part of the show. So I had to not only live it in the moment, but then relive it again.
Yeah.
And I think that reliving part was something I didn't anticipate being so challenging. When there's opinions and a lot of commentary, our show has grown a lot in popularity, and certainly people were tuning in to watch some of this fallout. It was really hard, but I had a producer, actually very amazing woman. She's been with me since day one on, the show. She called me because she knew I was down, and I was very sad. I was very depressed. I was in love with this person. I wanted it to work, but it wasn't right. And I really in my head envisioned a future that was now no longer. So it was like basically starting from scratch again. And that's overwhelming, especially at that point in my life. I was 38 or 39. A lot of my friends are married, have kids, and I was just like, what am I going to do now? Talking to this producer, and she's like, have you ever seen the David Beckham documentary? And I'm like, I actually know it. I've seen the Netflix. Yeah. I see it's there. I haven't tuned in yet.
Yeah.
She's like, go watch episode 3. And I was like, but maybe start with 1 first. And I wasn't familiar with David.
Yeah.
I know David Beckham,
Yeah.
but not like the
Like
full
the inner
full
workings of
story.
your story.
I remember like the Keira Knightley Bend It Like Beckham movie vaguely. And I remember him Manchester United. I remember Real Madrid. But I forgot about when he played for the English national team. There was this moment he had a foul and essentially cost England, I think, a World Cup spot, or it was the Gold Cup, one of the playoffs. And the entire country, UK, Britain, all hated Beckham. He was one of the most hated people in all of Britain.
Yeah.
Just because he screwed up a soccer play.
Yeah.
But it was interesting just kind of seeing someone that in current day, we all, for the most part, view David as kind of this iconic soccer player, but a great husband, good business owner, pretty quality individual for the most part. I mean, he's not quite Roger Federer quality, but pretty close. And I was like just blown away by what I was watching. It was in the late 90s. I'm not like, when you see it, it's like
I watched.
He was like tortured.
Yeah,
he was tortured by the country. Like people would follow him, boo him for a year.
Yeah,
in the streets, like harassing and going after this man for a full-on year because of a soccer play.
Yeah,
and it was just something about that really helped me realize that this will pass.
People have very short-term memories.
News cycles fast, and people have short-term memories, and it's all things that are these are all opportunities for growth and healing.
Yeah.
And as much as it was really hard, it was also very revealing on the other side for me, like what I do want now.
Yeah.
And what I am looking forward to.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people have a second chance to kind of restart.
Yeah.
My friends of mine were like,
and it could have been worse.
Way worse.
You could have gone much further along.
And that's something I don't lose sight of. You know, it's like a lot of people out there do get married and
kids,
have children.
And then
it's incredibly challenging. And I certainly didn't want to bring, a child into that environment. And I'm a child of divorce, but many years later. So it's just like, I feel very lucky that I was able to overcome and come through some of that experience. I know it was a very difficult situation on her side too, but I feel like I did my best to navigate it with respect.
Yeah.
I tried to operate in a way that I think a man should in a public setting, especially with a breakup. Women deserve the support as well, but it was important for me to keep my mouth shut a lot.
Yeah.
Not dig anything deeper, take the high road, be accountable, and try to move forward. Yeah. And what's interesting is it's really paid dividends. Yeah. Not only for myself, I don't carry like a big bag of resentment around. I carry a lot more of grace and understanding. And that energy is actually, I have some guy friends that are going through some difficult stuff with their relationships. And it's interesting, like trying to impart some of this energy to them, because we all reactive. We all want to say certain things, and trust me, I have my opinions deep down sometimes, but I think it's important how we conduct ourselves publicly, especially in the wake of a big breakup. And I felt like I tried my best to really operate in the best way possible. And I really believe that's how you should operate. Yeah. And I'm not saying there's a perfect way to do it, but I learned a ton from it. And I think the closure was even more important that I got was the following summer, where we were in the same environment, but we weren't together anymore. Yeah. But I still showed up awkwardly and uncomfortably at times, but it was good healing again, and good interactions, and just trying to take more of an adult approach versus we're all human. You get hurt, you get disrespected. You want to like make that person hurt and disrespect more than you've felt. But guess what? That actually doesn't really resolve.
There's no winning. No
winning there. It's an endless cycle. And a lot of times forgiveness, grace, putting yourselves in their shoes. And a lot of times it's more of them projecting their own insecurities back onto you.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't wish what I went through on anybody, but looking back on it, it was really powerful growth and healing. And if anything, it's put me in the position I am right now and in a better way. Like, I feel like steel sharpens steel, as they say. And some of these experiences didn't happen to me. They happened for me. Yeah. And I feel really grateful that if you look at a lot of what happens to you in your life as more of an opportunity, it's given to you as a chance for you to face it. And it's a lesson, most of it. It's not like, oh, woe is me. don't look at it like that.
No, it goes back to the whole energy thing we've been talking about throughout this episode. I mean, you and I were talking about a mutual friend who also is in the reality TV world, who's suffered some public, breakups, and his answer is very similar to yours when we spoke privately. And that's one of the things that kind of energy is so important. Again, not just for you guys to exude, but for people to hear you talk about.
Yes.
So that way it's normalized.
Yes.
Similar to a lot of the other things we've been talking about.
Totally. It's so easy to sit on the other side of a mic or a podcast or a news article or a journalist. And, being in the reality TV world, I've been afforded a lot of microphone opportunity. And, I very easily could have gone a different direction.
Yeah. You're allowed to say whatever you can say, whatever you want.
Acting out of emotion, acting out of pure anger. Yeah. And again, I think as men, a lot of us were raised to suppress these feelings and maybe hold back or be stoic. And that certainly there's elements that's a good way to operate. But I think it's important to get out those feelings, but in a more adult way,
Absolutely. My last question to you, right? To wrap things up here. When you started this, when all this happened, you came to New York, right? And you are going on the show. You're at a stage in your life where you probably have no idea what your calling is, what your purpose is. I don't even know if you're even searching for it at that point in life. And it's fine, right? Because that's the allure of being in New York for a lot of people at that age, right? Like, you're thrown into this big city. You're thrown into this place where you could do whatever you want, order whatever you want, whenever you want, things that you probably, couldn't even imagine doing, back where you grew up. And it's a lot to handle. But then eventually you get to a point, whether it's of your choosing or not, whether the circumstances, that you had either attracted or that just kind of came your way, and usually through hardships, your purpose becomes revealed, right? And you start to kind of uncover what your potential could be. And, the whole premise of this show is Mile 40 represents a very hard moment where I chose to put myself in, not knowing what was going to come out of it. And then on the back of it, a lot of purpose was revealed. And I guess where the question is going is, now that you've lived through these adverse circumstances and you've navigated the difficulty of all this and all the learnings of it, what kind of advice would you have for people out there who are either in the thick of it or unsure about what their purpose really is?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes I wouldn't wish like a rock bottom on anybody or, some of these pivotal moments. But it's funny, I will look at some friends of mine and almost go, I almost wish some humbling on you, just to bring you back to like a place of foundation and like really what matters. But I think like what I've learned, don't be afraid to try different things. Even getting fired, like I've been fired twice, which were pretty big deals back then. But try to remember when you go through these kind of moments, like I have a saying that I really love is like, you never know who your next boss will be.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is even when you're getting fired, leave with grace.
Yeah.
Thank them for the opportunity. Thank them for all the things. Make sure you're doing right by that exit. I've been rehired by places I was fired. I've re-met the boss who fired me, but now he's the same level as me at another thing.
Yeah.
So even when you're still figuring those things out, make sure when you're figuring things out, you're trying to leave that figuring out with good communication, good intention, and also just on good terms.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, like as a 40-year-old guy in New York, the amount of people I've reconnected.
It's a small world, man.
In a different way. Even a finance guy who's now a VC.
Yeah.
He worked at a big bank and now he's writing checks for CPG and brick and mortar.
Let's go.
But had I been a dick and not handled that correctly, my conversation 10 years later for my new venture would have been influenced differently. So try to remember the impact you're leaving on people. I also have another thing that my dad kind of imparted on me, which is like the learning, earning curve. And what I mean by that is don't be afraid to find a job. It could be even as simple as Bloomingdale's.
Sure.
Let's say you want to work in fashion.
Yeah.
Get a job at Bloomingdale's at the desk or the retail or the beauty counter or the makeup counter. And you're going to learn. You're going to experience, you're going to get feedback from consumers. You're going to get customers. You're going to learn how to be responsible. I think there's ways to gain not only money, but information, networking, all while getting closer to what you really want to do.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to do some of those kinds of jobs. I think those are some things that I've learned.
Yeah.
Definitely try to leave on the right terms, because I'm telling you, it does come back around. I was at Coffee Fest in October with my team. January in Javits Center in New York.
Yeah.
For Soft Bar. We were looking at different coffee providers, Chobani, Oatly, coffee, matcha.
Yeah.
And I ran into someone there from my Loverboy alcohol brand thing.
Yep.
I have a great relationship with him, but this individual was like, he speaks so highly of you.
That's how it works.
And I didn't even do anything just because of the way I left it from before. I did nothing and just walked up. So it was a really beautiful moment. I was like, that's how I try to operate.
Yeah.
But it actually happened. I was like, oh, we're going to have a great meeting now because I've already got the right tee up.
Yeah. So,
it's okay not to know what you want to do. Don't wait for your downfall to.
Yep.
But I also think, find communities where if you didn't make $1, would you still want to hang out there?
Yeah.
Find people you want to hang out with that really subscribe to similar things you like. And through that, I think search and alignment of your lifestyle, you're going to continue to meet people that really resonate with you. I work with people all the time that, they're in kind of careers or jobs that are not satisfying or fulfilling. Sure. I ask them, what would you do if you didn't make any money? And they always have a different answer. It's like, I'd be on ESPN or I'd be a coach. Well, let's figure out a path that could get you towards that.
Yeah.
Because you're miserable like this.
Yeah.
And if anything, it's only making your life worse.
Yeah.
So I don't have it all figured out.
No,
I'm not a LinkedIn expert.
No, man. Listen, I appreciate the authenticity. I appreciate the vulnerability throughout this episode. I can't say enough good things about you. I'm really excited for you. Everybody listening, be sure to keep an eye out for our Soft Bar coming out.
Yeah, so coming soon. I've been talking about this a lot.
Yep.
But, as anybody knows, building a brick and mortar business in New York takes some time. I went about it, as a true startup. You start small. We had a mobile pop-up. We had some events. We really built the brand, I believe, kind of organically. But my goal from the beginning was to get an actual location. But I wanted to set ourselves up for success. So I took some more time to find the right property, and I found a good rent, found a good opportunity. We will be open to the public early September, but we're going to have our investors and friends at the end of August for a private event just to showcase. But yeah, things will be rocking and rolling at Soft Bar in Greenpoint by mid-September.
Amazing.
Got some great brand partnerships, some great community events, music. We're going to have food.
A marathon after party, maybe?
Absolutely. Marathon after party, even a shakeout run, pre-party. I can't understate how just excited I am just to get these doors open so people can see what I've been envisioning, what I've been planning and building. But once it opens, that's when the real work begins. We got to execute, we got to operate, we got to continue to build this message. We can't rely on just the TV exposure. We got to really build this community. But I'll leave you with this. I was at Five Leaves, which is a restaurant in Williamsburg and Greenpoint I love. It's right by McCarran Park. I drink non-alcoholic beer there. They have Athletic and some other good brands. And I was sitting there with a friend of mine 2 or 3 weeks ago. I don't say anything about Summer House or Bravo. I'm just hanging out as Carl, good old Carl.
Yeah.
Waitress comes out after about an hour, brings the bill, and she's smiling. And she has like merchandise in her arms and the bill. And she puts the bill down. And then she's like, we got something for you, Carl. And I was like, oh, you know my name. She's like, we know who you are. We love you guys. We love you. We think you're great. But I just wanted you to know. And it was like a long pause. And I'm like, okay, am I in trouble now? We love Soft Bar. We cannot wait for it to open.
Go.
And she said, here's some merch. We want to be sister bars and friends with you guys. And because a lot of my staff here doesn't really drink. And I was like, that was like the warm little hug of the neighborhood that I was hoping for. So I'm really excited to be really collaborative with the neighbors, our local community, Acme Fishes to the left, Cafe Pana, the Rule of Thirds, Brooklyn Brewery, Vital, Bandit. There's all sorts of really cool neighboring businesses that I want to be a part of. Other Ship is opening a new location right down the street. You've got Suit Supply and Kith. You've got Pura Vida Miami, which is a great lunch spot. There's a lot happening over there, and I think we're a perfect complement to it. So
I love it. All right, everybody.
I'll leave you with that.
Yep, go follow Softbar, go follow Carl, and we'll see you guys in September. Awesome.
Thanks,
Good
Bishoy.
stuff, man.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you for listening today. If you enjoyed this episode of the Mile 40 podcast, go ahead, subscribe, leave a review, and share the word. Thank you for being a part of the Mile 40 family. And let's unite in showing the world that comebacks are always greater than setbacks.